Welcome back to my channel and wishing you all a belated happy Halloween. I did have these nails done before Halloween, but I wasn't able to get the video up on time, but that's okay. I still wanted to share these nails because I had a lot of fun doing them. They are Bride of Frankenstein press-on nails, so let's jump right into it. So we're gonna be doing some almond stiletto-ish press-on nails. I feel like there's a name for this, kind of like an almond stiletto mix. But anyways, these full cover tips are from Wellquin. They are the XXL stiletto tips. I will have them linked in the description. I've been using these for like over a year now and I really like them. They do come pre-shaped more of in a stiletto shape, but I shaped them to be more almond. So I have other videos on how I prep my press-on nails, and the video I'm planning to post right after this will show that in more detail, but I'll link those for now. And then for the base color, I wanted to do, of course, some sort of green, because when you think of Frankenstein, you think of, like a green color. So I wanted to do this kind of darkish green. It's called Everglades from Madam Glam. So we are just doing one layer on each of the press-on nails. We're gonna fully cure it, and then we're gonna do a second layer. And I do have a discount code for Madam Glam that you can use if you want to save on any of their products, so that will be in the description as well. After we do our 2 layers, you should have something that looks like this. And I wanted to add kind of like a milky white effect as well, so I'm using this color called Dreaming of Iceland. And you can see it's kind of a sheer milky white, so I'm just painting a layer over the base color and then fully curing it. You can do 2 layers of this if you want it to not be so subtle, but either way it adds like a really nice milky effect, which I thought would be nice for the set, and also just kind of help the nail art show up a little bit better. And after that's cured, I am gonna top coat it to seal it all in. I'm using the Koopa gel top coat. This is a shiny top coat, so you've probably seen me mostly using my matte top coat, but I am still kind of experimenting with this, and there are times when I've just used like the shiny top coat before doing nail art, and that also creates a pretty nice surface as well. So we're doing that here, and here's kind of how the milky white effect looks, just like with the regular light. So it looks pretty cool. And here's kind of the inspo for the nail set we're doing. So we're gonna draw half of Bride of Frankenstein's face on one nail. So I'm outlining that here. I'm using a white gel paint, and I'm really kind of using like a sketching method. And of course, we're gonna go back and define the lines as needed, but we're just outlining her face. And then her hair, obviously her hair is like very big and tall. So we are just outlining that as well. And then the neck, and then we're gonna fill it in all with the white gel paint. It's gonna kind of look like a giant blob, but I kind of knew mentally like where I was gonna be outlining. So we're gonna go ahead and take our black liner gel, put a little bit on our nail art palette, and we're gonna start outlining and filling in her hair. So when I'm doing this, I'm not covering up that white outer outline too much. I wanted to leave a little bit of that showing because her hair in the reference photo has a mix of black and white in it. So we're just gonna sketch out the black parts and fill that in all around, the side of her face. And then I'm just kind of defining her hairline a little bit more. And then I'm gonna take a white gel polish. This one is a little bit brighter. This is perfect white, and I'm gonna do the white stripe in her hair. This doesn't need to look perfect. I mean, if you look at the reference images, it's all kind of like squiggly and wavy lines. I mean, it's her hair at the end of the day, and so it doesn't need to look perfect at all. So just go ahead and add in that line and then some other like white effects and details. And then you can go back and take your black gel paint and re-outline her face and start kind of carving out where the chin is and the neck. And now we're gonna start sketching her eyes. Sketching eyes is so hard. I feel like I'm barely starting to get a little bit more comfortable with it, but the more you do it, the easier it will get. So we're just doing kind of an almond shape for her eye, and then we're adding in the details, and then I'm just lightly sketching in her eyelid. I am using my black gel paint here, but I'm using a very light touch. And I'm using a 9mm brush, so I'm keeping the strokes very thin and trying to make sure I'm using like almost like feathering, I'm not using a lot of pressure at all, especially because I'm drawing super tiny eyelashes. So Just take your time with it, and you don't need a ton of product on your brush. You know, really just a little bit goes a long way, especially when you're drawing really tiny details like that. Now I'm just gonna go back and outline the rest of her hair. I like to go back and forth between different parts sometimes, just like whatever feels comfortable. And now I'm going back and sketching out her nose and then her lips. Since we're only doing half of her face, like that inspo pic, we only need to draw like half of her nose and her lips. And I am gonna fill in her lips with this color called Sinister. It's this really nice dark red from Nails by Dev. And then of course I am curing some of this stuff in between, but definitely be sure to cure any colors before you start adding new colors. And we are pretty much done. Just to finish it off, we're gonna take that milky white gel polish, do a layer just kind of around the edges, cure that, and then we're gonna do a neon green over that just to kind of create like a glowing effect, you know, just add a little bit more fun detail, you know, to the nail art. And once that's fully cured, you can go ahead and top coat it, and we will move on to our next nail. So now we are going to draw Frankenstein. This is technically going to be the ring fingernail, and Bride of Frankenstein was the pointer finger. We're going to leave the middle finger for kind of the heart and lightning bolt to just kind of match the nail art. So we're doing the outline of his face. And his face is obviously, like, his head is pretty large and it's kind of squarish for the most part, but you can kind of round out the edges a little bit like I'm doing here, so it's not like literally a square. But overall, you know, try to keep it, you know, kind of squarish, but just round out the corners like I'm doing here, and then draw the neck right below that. And then you can sketch out his ear with the white gel paint, and then we'll do, I guess it's kind of like the bolt or screw that's in his neck. You know, if I could go back, I would do this at the top of his head, but you can do it at the bottom of the neck too, if you'd like. Now we're gonna take the black gel paint and start outlining his hair. His hair is obviously not like super thick or big like Bride of Frankenstein, so this doesn't need to take up a lot of space. I'm just kind of going back and adding a little bit more as needed, and then I'm kind of doing the stitches at the hairline, just little lines kind of coming out from there like in the reference photo. Now we're going to take some black shading gel, and I'm going to start drawing in some of the scars and other features on his face. I did want to use a black shading gel just because it's a little bit more subtle, and I know we didn't use this for Bride of Frankenstein, but I feel like obviously this is a little bit different to draw, so I think a more subtle black kind of helps get all those features and details in there. So like, you know, we're drawing in his chin, but we're going to bring that down to add in some shading. He is a monster at the end of the day, right? So we got to make him look like one. And then you can go back and add more. I'm outlining his eyes as well in the shading gel. You know, his eyes are kind of low and they don't have a ton of detail, but what I really noticed was that they were kind of low. And, you know, there's kind of like other lines around his face, like wrinkles and scars. So you can go ahead and add that in with the black shading gel. And if you need to make the lines like darker, even with the black shading gel, you can just pick up more product. His nose is fairly simple. We're just adding a little bit more shading around the ear. And then when you go and draw his mouth, obviously it's pretty much a straight line, more or less, with the stitches. So this is where like a really transparent kind of jelly black comes in really handy when you're adding in details like this. You know, with the shading gel, they look, you know, a little bit more subtle and it blends together more easily. So that was the last step for that, and then you can top coat it. Now we're gonna do the lightning bolt heart in the middle nail. So pretty simple. We're gonna draw half the lightning bolt and then half the heart, and then bring that down at the bottom. Draw the other half of the lightning bolt, but we're gonna leave some space between it, kind of like a broken heart. Draw the other side of the heart. So it's basically like a broken heart, but the crack in the middle is a lightning bolt. And then you can go ahead and make the lines thicker. I wanted to make them a little bit thicker because I knew I was gonna go back and add in some like stitches and some neon green. So keep it as thick or as thin as you'd like, but you can definitely go back and add more depth to the lines if you'd want to. And once that is fully cured, I did go back and add some kind of stitches, pretty like subtle, not too big. These are just kind of randomly placed, and I'm just using the same white gel paint and 9mm brush for that. So another way you can kind of do the neon effect besides using like the milky white is just taking some gel top coat and mixing in some neon green. I've done it both ways. This way looks a little bit more subtle and it's a little bit more translucent, so it just depends on what you're looking for. So for this one, I didn't want to like cover up the white, you know, completely. I mean, it looks pretty covered up, but you know, it's not like an overpowering like super dark green. So anyways, I'm just taking that mixture and I'm going over the white. Since we kind of want it to be like a glowing effect, we're not gonna like worry too much about it like staying within the white lines. It actually is gonna give it more of that glowing effect if you go a little bit over the lines. So this is where like mixing it with the top coat helps because it gives it more of like a runny, translucent look. So yeah, this part is just like super easy. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just go over the white parts generally, cure it, and then top coat it. And then the thumb and the pinky is super simple. So we're just taking our brush and drawing some longer, thicker lines, and then we're gonna draw some stitching. This is basically like supposed to mimic like, you know, stitching, whatever you wanna call it. Pretty basic Halloween nail design. So the way that I like to do it is I like to draw the lines kind of staggered and then do these kind of X's, but you can draw the lines in any like configuration that you'd like. The only tip that I would say is that when you're drawing the longer line, use like the side of your brush to your advantage, because generally you probably want that line to be thicker and then the stitching to be thinner. So when you're drawing the X's, you're gonna use more so like the point of your brush versus when you're like drawing that longer line, use the side of your brush more so you can get more product on there and get a thicker line. And then we're gonna use that same neon green mixture. Doesn't need to be perfect again. We're kind of going over the lines, gives it more of like that spooky effect, and then we'll fully cure it and then top coat it, and then we are done. And that's the end of the tutorial. So not as complicated as it looks, just take it step by step. All products will be in the description. I have more polygel tutorials and press-on tutorials on my page. I have one more spooky tutorial to get out of the way and we will be jumping into holiday nails. So see you then.